Hello and welcome. So, what if everything you can see, everything you can touch and measure, is all there is? No ghosts, no gods, no supernatural forces of any kind, just the physical world. Well, that's the core idea behind a really powerful worldview called philosophical naturalism. And today, we're going to break down exactly what that means. It really all comes down to this one fundamental question. Is the physical world all there is? Is the universe that we can observe with our senses and our instruments, is that the full extent of reality? Or is there something more, something lying just beyond what we can perceive? Your answer to this question, believe it or not, shapes just about everything else you believe.
All right, Section 1, Defining the Worldview. Philosophical naturalism offers a very clear, and for some people, a pretty stark answer to that big question. So, let's dig into its core tenets. So, what is philosophical naturalism? Well, here's the textbook definition. It's the bold claim that all phenomena, everything in the universe, can be explained by physical processes. From a star collapsing light years away to the spark of a new idea right here in your own mind, naturalism argues it's all a product of material cause and effect. There's just no need for any kind of supernatural explanation.
To put it more simply, think of the universe as a closed system, right? A totally self-contained machine. Everything that happens inside it is just matter and energy bouncing around according to the laws of physics. There are no ghosts in this machine, and there are certainly no divine puppeteers pulling the strings from outside.
But what does physical processes really mean? This part is absolutely crucial. It means these processes are unguided. They're blind. Think about a chain of dominoes. It doesn't want to fall over, it just does, because the one before it hit it. These processes have no goal, they have no purpose. There's no mind behind them. They can't think, they can't reason, they just happen.
Okay, Section 2, the atheist connection. Now, if you accept that only these blind physical processes exist, well, that leads to a pretty direct conclusion about anything supernatural. And this right here is where naturalism and atheism meet.
The logic is pretty straightforward, right? If you start with the idea that the physical world is a closed box, then by definition, a supernatural, non-physical God has to be outside of that box, and therefore can't exist within our reality. This is why for most atheists, philosophical naturalism is kind of their foundational operating system.
The prominent atheist Professor Richard Dawkins puts it about as bluntly as you can. He says an atheist believes there is nothing beyond the natural physical world. For many people, the line between atheism and naturalism is practically invisible.
Section 3, an important distinction. But, hold on a second. Is that connection absolute? I mean, if you're an atheist, do you have to be a naturalist? This is where it gets really interesting, because the answer is actually no.
Let's look at these two columns here. Now, both represent atheists, okay? They both deny a divine being. But the difference is what else they accept or reject. The naturalist atheist on the left says nothing non-physical is real. No objective good or evil, no souls, no disembodied consciousness. But the non-naturalist atheist on the right might say, look, I don't believe in God, but I do believe that things like justice or love or maybe even mathematical truths are real, even though they're not physical objects.
And this little distinction creates a really surprising bridge. A theist, who obviously believes in a non-physical God, can often find more common ground for a discussion with a non-naturalist atheist. And why is that? It's because they both agree on a fundamental point, that reality isn't limited to just physical stuff. They have a shared starting block for the conversation.
All right, Section 4, the final takeaway. So why does any of this matter? Well, because naturalism isn't just some abstract idea for a philosophy class. It's the often unspoken assumption behind so many modern debates about a universe without a goal.
Here is the key takeaway for today. The next time you hear someone argue that there's no evidence for God, listen very closely to their reasoning. Because often, whether they even realize it or not, they're starting from a naturalist position. They're looking for physical evidence for something that is, by its very definition, non-physical. And understanding that starting point is the key to understanding the entire argument. And all of this leaves us with one final, pretty profound question. If naturalism is true, if the universe is just a blind, unguided chain of physical events, then what does that mean for us? In a cosmos that has no built-in purpose, where do we find meaning?